I became a behaviorist in graduate school. So when I began teaching in 1970 at Cal State Sacramento, that was my third university that I had taught at. But when I began teaching there, I also began consulting with some of the group homes around Sacramento. I got a call from the people at the regional center asking me to start a company. It had never occurred to me to start one on my own, but they asked me to start one. So that they gave me the idea.
So I met Joe when I was 22 at Cal State University Sacramento. I was looking for an advisor, and a friend of mine that I was working with, she said, "I have the perfect professor for you. You'll really like him." She didn't say that he was a behaviorist, that his emphasis was in behavior analysis. I actually was a psychology major wanting to emphasize in humanistic psychology and eventually do counseling.
Brenda was my student. She was my undergraduate student, and then she got her master's degree with me. Her master's degree had some relevance to applied behavior analysis, but it was an experimental thesis with rats.
He, in many, many ways, taught me more things than I had ever imagined as someone mentoring me. Even at that time, I didn't realize how powerful behaviorism was with respect to changing human behavior. And it wasn't until he recommended the science of human behavior that I was completely sold. I thought, oh my gosh, we have to let the world know about this. I started a club called the Behavioral Forum, and I wanted an opportunity for students to be able to do some public speaking, have some guests that were well known in the field without being ostracized by their peers.
Well, she was a good student and very enthusiastic and took naturally to behaviorism. And I knew she had skills in working with the developmentally delayed. So then I asked her if she wanted to go into business with me.
Joe was my chairperson on my thesis committee. He had approached me and asked me if I was interested in consulting in a care home for him.
I do believe that Brenda was a natural in behavior analysis. I believe that she brought with her a set of skills that fit behavior analysis, and hence behavior analysis fit her.
We had to come up with a business name because we had to officially come up with a business, a business license and all that. I said, give me a week. And so I have my boyfriend at that time to credit, Scott LaRoche. He said, I have the name for your company. And I said, what's that? And he said, Applied Behavior Consultants. And he said, and I even have your logo. I said, what's that? And he said, and he showed the blocks. And I was elated. I said to Joe, I have the name for our company. And as soon as he heard the name, he said, that's it. And that's how we became ABC. So I will forever be indebted to Scott LaRoche.
The way the business grew was in small incremental steps. I never really thought that it was going to get the size that it did, but we started off in a two-room office. We started off in my living room, and that got kind of busy when we found it necessary to hire a few people. So we got an office, a two-room office. Then we needed a three-room office, and eventually it just kept growing. We hired at the beginning many of my students who had studied behavior analysis under me at the university. And the work, I believe, was good, and our reputation grew. We had competitors, but not many, and so the business continued to grow. Around the early 90s, we began to work with Ivar Lovaas and some of the folks there, and then began to do work with children with autism in the early 90s. And when we started working with children with autism, the business continued to grow. And then around 94, I think, 1994, we started a school, a one-room school. And people liked what they saw, although it had one room. We had, for the first couple of months, there was 4 staff and 1 student. But we began to get a lot more students, and that filled up very quickly. within a few more months we had 10 or 12 students. So we had to move, find another place, and it just continued to grow. The growth has always surprised me. It really has. I've never had a business, although I've been the president of the organization since it started. I never had a business plan, never once did a budget. It was just slow incremental steps based on what we could do. And now we've moved to different areas, moved to Los Angeles, moved to Stockton. And the thing that's allowed us to move to those other areas is great staff. Great implementer staff, great supervisorial staff, and we've been lucky to come into contact with those people, which allows us to expand and serve more kids. Building the school is an interesting question. As Brenda and I would talk, she used to say, someday we'll have a building with our name on it.
And there was this MCI building, and I said, one day, you just watch, one day we're going to have our own building. So that probably set something in the back of his mind, even though he didn't think that was going to happen. And again, we started getting 50 kids and then 55 kids, and Joe starts doing the math. And Joe is one of the most amazing people that I know when it comes to finances, because he doesn't make things really cumbersome and complicated. He's able to, he goes, give me 5 minutes. Let me figure this out. He goes, you want to go buy that? He goes, you want to build that building that you were talking about? I said, are you serious? He said, all we need is 49 students.
And I began to look at the finances to see what it would take to make a down payment and make mortgage payments on a building. And I'm thinking, well, when we get X number of students, we may be able to do that. And so I began working with an architect. And the architect, David Rickard, a marvelous architect, met with our teachers, met with me and Brenda, and he designed a building for us. The building was a dream. I asked the architect to make it funky but functional. The walls are made out of straw bale, and those straw bale walls allow for great insulation.
The fluorescent lights shoot up into the ceiling as opposed to down, because the flickering particles in the lighting affects children in terms of the way that they see. So we have as much natural light coming into the building. The windows are high so that kids aren't distracted by what's going on outside. The floors are heated because a lot of learning and generalization can be done on the floor, such as circle time. And if you notice, all the walls are rounded and no sharp edges, so that we could minimize the amount of injury. Playgrounds were built in the same way, keeping those types of things in mind in order to minimize any risk of injury.
My real happy thing in the middle of this complex of buildings is a tower that says B.F. Skinner Hall. I'm old friends with Julie Vargas, Skinner's oldest daughter, and so when we had our grand opening here, probably 2000, we invited her and her sister Deborah, who's an artist in England. They both came for the grand opening, and Julie told me this was the first building ever named after her father. But this was an act of love on my part, because my career has been, Skinner has been the inspiration for any career that I've had. And he's laid the groundwork for what we do with the children with autism. So I was just totally pleased to be able to put his name on the tower there.
I'm a pretty open person. It's like I'm a consummate student. And I think to be a really effective teacher, you have to be a student at the same time, because you don't know everything. And you certainly need to know what you don't know. So I was never one who hesitated to ask for help. And I always believe that whenever you provide a service, you're better off listening more than you are talking and telling people what to do, because you're as good as the information that is given to you.
We have a classroom that totally devoted to training. Introductory level training for people who are beginning the tutor or the behavior technician jobs. We have training for our behavior analysts, and more advanced training. We also bring in people from the outside occasionally. We've had some very interesting people here. And Andy Bondi, who developed with his wife Lori Frost, developed the PECS system.
This is a PECS book, and it's used for students to communicate. So when they would like to have something, they would exchange the picture, and we would know what they're asking for, and they would get in return the actual objects.
Joe is one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? When he wants you to do something and create something, and he believes in what you do, he lets you do it. He doesn't sit there and say, now Brenda, these are the guidelines that you're going to use. And because of that freedom to operate clinically in a way that I could just think about that and not what he thought about me, was really crucial in a way in how I developed and became what I became with respect to designing clinical training programs.
We've never had an argument over money. Not once in 20 years. We've never argued over that. With respect to the technology, we've never argued over what technology we should use or what parameters we should use to delineate the technology we use. And we've never argued over ethical questions. We adopted a motto very early on: the kids come first.
So he encouraged my autonomy to really sit back and work with material and come from the perspective of what's going to be effective for the people that I'm going to train, what's going to be effective in the kids that we serve, and then be a good sounding board for me when I needed his input with respect to the theoretical aspects. That freedom and autonomy really brought to life for me what my abilities were, because I didn't know I had them.
Brenda is a gifted clinician, and I knew early on that doing clinical hands-on work was different from talking about it in classes and lecturing on it. So I decided that I would defer to Brenda's clinical skills, and that's helped a great deal.
There's nothing so far that has happened in the company that we can't deal with. Adversity, every time when we have been faced with, because every company will face it, has actually made us better, stronger, and more growth. And it's never worked against us. And I really think in the way that we deal with adversity together as a partnership is what has made this business successful, along with, again, our commitment to the field and our commitment to being effective.
So now we're working with kids even under 2, and we're making, I've been surprised at the progress that we're making with them. We make more progress with a child under 2 than a child who's 3, for example. Maybe we make more progress with a child who's 3 than one who's 4. One thing we can say with certainty is that there's a direct relationship between at what time we begin working with the kids, doing the behavior therapy, and how much progress they make. And we've been asked to open 2 new schools, one in out by San Bernardino in Southern California, and the school districts in Fairfield have asked us to open a school there.
So I believe the future lies in creating more schools internationally, making ourselves available to those countries. We always offer to go over there for expenses only, and so our next expansion will be in Iceland.
Both Brenda and I are committed to making this company work. And now, you see, if we had an argument that would break it up, it would affect not only us, but 400 people and 400 or 500 kids. And so we feel an obligation to keep this company going.
But we never deviated from our mission that the kids come first, that we want to provide a safe working environment for our staff are next. Those 2 things have to drive the business. And we want to make sure that we're effective and we don't compromise the science of behavior analysis for any reason at all, even if it's to make more money. That's not our purpose.
We now have actually sold the company. Brenda and I, about 1.5 years ago, sold the company to the employees. And so the employees now own 100% of the stock of the business.
ABC means to me bringing hope and support to families of children with autism by giving their children the skills to be independent and to be part of their community and give some peace of mind to their families. That's the number one thing that it means to me and the most important thing it means to me. And I'm very proud of the work that ABC has done both here in Sacramento and internationally. I think Brenda and Joe have done a really amazing job of creating awareness around the world for the use of ABA with autism, and there's nothing more important than that, because it's the best treatment that we can offer to these children and to their families.
While working at other agencies, I felt that this place helps out kids, but also helps out the staff here, because one thing that helps run the program are the staff that work here. And seeing people like Dr. Morrow and Brenda Churches-Garland help me clinically is the best thing I could ask for. And then also seeing that I can get some help with the administrative staff like Ron Sandell, Kathy Tucker, people like that, helps me to make me look good and helps me to help the kids and make things run very smoothly. So I'm really proud and honored and privileged to work at ABC.
ABC means to me, it's giving kids hope, giving them a chance that they might not otherwise have in a public school classroom, and really getting to be a part of that and getting to hear a kid say his first word at the age of 3 or 4 is quite spectacular.
I would say ABC is a rare place where we teach the kids that go to school here with autism to discover new things in our world, to learn the skills that they need to live their lives, and also to engage with the people in their lives.
Well, ABC means to me a fun and safe environment that children can grow and gain the academic skills that they need to make it in a less restrictive environment and be the best that they can be in all walks of life.
I say ABC means a lot to me. It's taught me a lot, given me a lot of insight on what it means to help somebody. It's great. I enjoy my job. I love it. I love the improvements the kids are making. It's excellent. And ABC is providing me the skills to help these children succeed. So ABC is wonderful.
I have been here with ABC ever since we had our old site. We're probably 10 years, actually 10.
You've been here 10 years?
My sister was a student here, and so I used to come and volunteer and model behavior in the classrooms and help out the teachers as a little kid. And then I would come and work summers during high school and college. And then I graduated college and came here, and I wanted to become a teacher. And now I'm getting my credential and my master's, and I want to be at ABC forever.
This place has changed your life.
It has.